This is Brooklyn, St. Michael with the School of Aquaponics, and this is Ask the Aquaponics Guide, preventing you from becoming a biscuit-headed grower. Now, today, what we're going to be discussing is software development for aquaponics. We have a video submission by a gentleman by the name of Danny who wants to know if a software that he's developing is suitable for aquaponics or if it's not, if he's going in the right direction and what help can be provided. Also, we're going to talk about some of the plants. He's going to show a system, and then we're going to go ahead and give a little bit of feedback on the system. So stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. Woo!
Hello, Aquaponics God. This is Danny K coming at you from Massachusetts, and I got a question for you.
Woo! What's up, Danny? Thus saith the Aquaponics God.
So, I saw your video on the jobs in aquaponics, and I'm a software developer. Saw your software segment and thought it was pretty cool. Got more questions about it though, because I started designing my own software based on what you said and kind of want to get your take on what I should be doing. So, bought a few sensors. I have a water temperature sensor, an air and humidity sensor, so air temperature and humidity, pH sensor, going to get my light sensor to be able to sense when I have the lights on and off, a water flow sensor for my pump, and an ultrasonic sensor to be able to measure the depth of the water in the sump tank to be able to know when I need to refill it. So right now my sump tank, and well, actually this whole thing's in a coat closet, very, very small setup, which I'll show you in a couple minutes. Definitely get your take on a few things about that. But I don't have a sump tank. My sump tank is my fish tank. Unfortunately, they kind of lose a little bit of water at some points, but oh well. So the real question here is, can I make real money doing this? You know, I've seen a lot of apps online and, you know, different things out there like different self-contained boxes that you can really, you know, grow a self-contained system, but it's very small grade stuff. I'm thinking if I'm going to be customizing and making my own system, maybe I might be able to sell this to an enterprise market, someone doing this maybe on a bigger scale that wants to do multiple sensors, more detailed setups with maybe relays turning different things on and off. But just want to get your take, I guess, on that first. Is this something that should even be going down?
So to answer your question, this is kind of a complicated question. It's complicated, but it's not so complicated. It depends on pretty much two variables. One is, are you creating something that people actually want? This is the first thing, and I'm going to give you a suggestion. The first thing I want you to do before you go any further in developing this software is I want you to go out there and find out, what do people want? This is the best thing you can do before you create anything. What is it that people want? What do people want to have in a software? Go and look out. You said you might want to sell it to enterprises, so you might want to go check out, you know, some companies and find out, well, what is it that you need? What problems are you experiencing, and how can you know, you, Danny, how can you solve those problems with your software? So you don't want to, you know, put all this time and energy in and build something that nobody wants. So that's what I'm going to suggest to you first. And the second variable into being able to determine if you can make money, because the answer is yes, that you can make money. Absolutely. But the second variable is, how good are you or your team at marketing and selling? That is going to be the just as important as the product that you have. How good are you at marketing and selling your product? You can have the best product in the world. You can have the best software in the world, but if you don't have a team that's equipped to go out and sell and market it, who cares? You know, you'll just have a great product, but you won't make any money. So you need both of them. Get the product development down correctly, find out what everyone wants, and then get a team together. You're going to probably need an entrepreneur. You're the software development guy, so you're probably going to need an entrepreneur to assist you, someone that has the big vision, that goes out, can do selling, can do marketing, because that's a whole different setup. You can, like I told you in the video that you watched, developing the software is one skill, but actually marketing and doing the business for it, that's a totally separate skill. Totally separate skill. So get someone. If you have those two together, then you'll definitely have a much better increased chance of making some money and being profitable, and very profitable if you get the software down correctly. You can be extremely profitable.
I mean, for my own setup, this has been fun to do. What I've done here is I've graphed out over a 2-day range the metrics coming in from my microcontroller from my closet, and those are all being stored in a database. And the graph here gives you the ability to zoom in, so I can click and drag, and then I can hover over points. And hopefully be able to see different patterns, which actually pretty cool. I already found a certain pattern with my pH sensor. So this is first here, air temperature and water. Figured those are very important. You've mentioned those in videos. Humidity and dew point. Figured dew point, I want to know that for mold and to make sure I don't go above a certain humidity here. I've heard if you go above 60 degrees in the dew point, that's bad. Let me know if you want to comment on that one. But here's the interesting one, the pH sensor. So, I had this for a couple days running, and I thought everything was going good with it, and then I saw, boom, around 1 a.m., a little bit after 1 a.m., this started happening. I thought, oh, well, maybe my sensor's bad. But, come to find out, I looked at my plants, and they looked very nutrient deficient. So this is just a startup. I'm just cycling my system. I'm just getting to nitrates right now. My ammonia dropped to 0. My nitrates around, I think, 4 or 5 ppms. And my nitrates are actually up at around 80. Or 80 or 90 ppm. I've been doing nitrifying bacteria, so I figure both bacteria are growing simultaneously. So that's assume what's going on there. But anyway, so I'm a little nutrient deficient because I'm just starting out the cycling. So interesting here, I'm seeing that the plants look like they're trying to drop the pH because I was able to match up with the sump water depth. This is that ultrasonic sensor that's basically using sonar to bounce off the water level. So it's at the top of the tank, bouncing off the top water level to be able to show how deep the water level is. And this is a flood and drain system, media bed. So if I zoom in here, you can see it flooding and draining. So this is how I know that the flood and drain is still working properly. But I was able to match it up over here and show the pH doing the same thing, that it drops to 5.86 when it dumps into my fish tank, and then gradually rises back to 7 and keeps doing that. And, I want to make sure, okay, well, is it the sensor? I bought a cheap sensor, and that's another thing I want to get your take on is looking at Dr. Robot sensors. They have a pretty good gravity hookup, they call it, where it allows the analog inputs of an Arduino, which is the microcontroller I'm using. It allows those analog inputs to be able to read the sensors very, very easily with a couple commands. So pretty cheap sensors, seem like a great product so far. The pH sensor I got was the base model. It was a $30 model. They had a more advanced one, which looks like maybe it lasts a little bit longer, $50, but didn't know if you had any recommendation on sensors out there. I guess that's kind of one of my other bigger questions.
So I really don't have any recommendations for a particular brand. What I would recommend you doing is just check for reviews on Amazon and look at a variety of different brands and see what other people have experienced and what they think about the brand. It doesn't matter. Sometimes it doesn't matter if the brand is cheap, depending on which sensor you're using. If you're using something for oxygen, you're definitely going to want something that's a little bit more expensive. pH, you can kind of get away with that. There's a lot of cheaper brands of pH meters that are out there and sensors that work well. The one that you have, I've never tested it, so I can't really give feedback on it because I've never personally tried it. So you can just go out and check and see what other people have reviews on it, but I personally have never tried it, so I just have to be fair and not give any feedback on that particular meter. But sometimes a cheap meter works just as good as, or a cheap sensor works just as good as an expensive sensor. It just depends on the company and it depends on the type of sensor that it's reading for.
Is what else should I be monitoring? Because, here's my pH, sump water depth. This sensor I haven't gotten in yet, my grow light sensor, so that I know when the light's supposed to be on to make sure it is on, and the light's supposed to be off, that there's no light entering the room. I know certain plants are not very happy about changes in light patterns. Another thing I added to this too is the webcam, so I figured that was pretty cool. Really just showing off at this point. But I guess I just want anything you want to comment on, I guess, is my thing. Anything that you think I could improve on here, in other software that you've seen. I guess any of your viewers that want to check this out too and let me know what you think. It's aquaponics.dannyk.us in the URL bar there.
So here's what we're going to do, Danny. Everyone out there that's watching, this is what I want you guys to do. I want you guys to go ahead and go to this link. Go to Danny's website, check out his software development that he's doing for aquaponics. Come back, give a review, and then write exactly what you look for in a software. If you were going to be purchasing a software, what would you want in the software? What would make you come out of the pocket and spend money? That's what we want to know. Exactly what are you looking for in a software? What is going to solve a problem that you have so Danny can go back and go to the drawing board and maybe he can design something that'll help everyone out. So let's help Danny out. Let's help him help us, because I would want a software too if someone can come up with something. And the software that I would want, it may be a bit different than what you're designing here, Danny. And we'll have some of these points in here, but I probably want like an all, and I'm not sure if it's possible. You're the software developer, but I would want like an all-around software, which includes testing all the testing all the the pH, your oxygen, ammonia levels, nitrate levels. All that is being monitored constantly. Nutrient concentration. All that is being monitored constantly. I also want the software to have it where I can actually build the system on the software. I can build it in the software before I go out and build it out there on the physically, and I can monitor it. I can monitor which plants I have in the software. I can have if I'm planting kale, I want a software that tells me all that my planting schedule. If I'm planting kale, where is it located at in the system on the software, so I can look at it and I can know exactly, okay, I know I need to harvest today or I need to harvest next week, and I know all this is calculated and dated to where I can know without even going out there, and I can just look on the software and be able to tell when I can go out and harvest and plant new vegetables and new crops. That's one thing that I would look for on there. Also, changes in the weather, letting me know which type of crop should be planted coming up in this season for the location that I'm at. So there's a lot of things that's what I would want on a software, something that where I don't have to think. Okay, I know the summer's coming up. Well, it's going to tell me already. Here's the crops for your location. Go out there. This is the ones you can plant. Boom. I don't have to think. I just know, okay, I planted this day, harvested that way, and I'm done. So that's what I would want. But many people out there, they probably want something different. This is why I say always check first with the viewers and with your target audience before you even go out and build anything. Because there's a chance that people don't want what I want. And if you have 1,000 people that want something different and only me that wants what I'm saying right now, then you have to just move me out of the way and, you cater to the 1,000 people. And that's where you will build your software to target those people. That would be your audience. So hopefully that helps you out. So you guys out there, go out there, support Danny, get on his website, check him out, give him some feedback, help the man out. And so we can further the process and the farming practice of aquaponics.
I own the domain and actually serve up the website from my own servers. That's my forte, software development. I don't do aquaponics, so I'm trying to bridge that gap, and it's been tough, man. You go to a hydroponics store, they know all about hydroponics and really only growing one type of plant, marijuana. And then you go to a pet store, they only know how to raise fish. There's really no gap between the two. So thank you so much for your videos. They've helped a lot. But anyway, so that's kind of my question there. I guess let me just see if I had some other follow-up questions about this. What other sensors should I use? Should I get like a CO2 sensor for the room?
Absolutely. If you're going to be making this software for indoor growing, then that's going to be a necessity to have CO2 monitoring. So let's make sure you add that in there if that is what the people want. If that's what the companies want, that's what the people want, okay, we're going to add that in there. Also, what I would suggest is adding an EC sensor too, if they have that. If you can measure the EC and have that constantly monitored in the system, that is what basically tells you the nutrient concentration in your system. So you know how much overall nutrient concentration is in there. Nitrate, a lot of people think nitrate is the only thing that grows plants, and that is absolutely incorrect. Nitrate is one nutrient. Plants require many more nutrients than that. So nutrient concentration gives you the overall a picture on how concentrated the overall nutrients are in the system that are required for plant development. So EC, check for EC sensor. If they have that, that's something that you would most likely have to add in the system or on your development, your software development program as well.
Those are a little bit more expensive. They're like $56. I guess dissolved oxygen sensor, anything else you can think of that would be good to monitor. You think that would be cool to be able to say, oh, I'm seeing a pattern. I love analyzing. So if I can see something before my plants are deprived of it, or if they're asking me that they're hungry, like the pH sensor kind of I think was showing me, let me know what you think about that, but I'm pretty sure that's kind of what the plants were doing, is trying to lower the pH to grab more nutrients.
So as far as the pH lowering, I noticed that it was lowering as your water is draining. The pH in your system begins to drop as it fills up, then it begins to increase. Now, I would know for sure that it would not be the pH being lowered by any plants, because it goes up to a pH of 7, and pH of 7 is perfectly fine for the majority of plants to be able to take up the nutrients that they need. pH of 7 is perfectly fine, so it would not need to drop the pH down to a 5.8 as I seen in your system. It looks like there may be something wrong with the sensor. It may be something happening to the sensor, as when the water's draining out, when it's flooding, it may be disturbing the sensor and causing it to have an off balance, because it is a correlation between the flooding and your pH dropping. So it seems to be there's something with that that motion that's causing the sensor to kind of get thrown off, but it's definitely not from the plants.
So we'll see about that one. But anyway, and also, I guess, am I cutting edge? Is this something where I missed the bus on this? You know, is this something that I guess you think could be lucrative for me?
It would depend. This aquaponics is new. There's not too many sensors out there that are designed for aquaponics. If you want to do cutting edge, now I think there's things like this for hydroponics where they can monitor all this stuff, but aquaponics is incorporating fish and aquaculture. So we can combine it together somehow and figure out how to get the best of both worlds, and that's something that's definitely cutting edge. There's definitely not any softwares out there, to my knowledge, of aquaponics that is really groundbreaking. Something new, something that is really solving a problem in aquaponics. That's what you want to look for. We want to solve a problem, and that's what's going to cause people to come out the pocket and pay. So it's definitely can be cutting edge if you get it done right. That's why I say make sure you go look around. We want to talk. Ask people what's the problem. How can you save them time and money? How can you save them time and money on their business and their operation? How can you make life easier for them? Aquaponics, how can you make aquaponics life easier for them? So go ahead and make sure you do that research first before continuing and spending a lot of time. It's going to take a long time to develop this. A very long time. A very, very long time. A lot of trial and error. So I want to make sure you know that in advance. It may take years to develop it.
And go from there. But let's check out my setup. I guess hopefully not getting too bored of me talking at this point. But let's check out my closet. I want to go over a couple things in there that if you want to comment on, do so. If you've already mentioned in other videos, then leave it out. I'm fine with that. But here we go. So I think I wanted to prove that you can do aquaponics on a small scale in an urban environment, and here is my coat closet aquaponics. It's a 10-gallon grow bed on the top and a 20-gallon fish tank on the bottom. This was all done way before I watched any of your videos, and realized that probably should have matched up the grow bed and tank a little bit better, but I dropped a little bit of the water level in the tank, so it matched the grow bed a little bit more of a 1-to-1 ratio, hoping that that's going to work out okay. Definitely want to bring this up first. I'm definitely in Massachusetts, because that is a marijuana plant here in the back. Nice cannabis plant there growing. Probably noticed it's a little nutrient deficient. That's what I was talking about earlier. I think him and the bean plant there are the two culprits dropping my pH for me. But here's my license. I am, I'll get some of the light, am Massachusetts resident. So it's not like I'm racing in Mexico. I actually do live in Massachusetts, where this is legal. But yeah, so there's a couple questions I wanted to ask. First off, show this off to you here, get your first take on this. You're going to notice the water color here is very dark. Notice a couple of my goldfish there. They're hungry. But yeah, it's a little dark because I added some Maxi Crop and iron to the water. Right now, you can say it, I'm doing hydroponics with a fish cover-up.
You are doing hydroponics with the fish cover-up, my man. But listen, I'm going to let you slide on this one because you're just starting it. It's just getting going. And your fish are probably not big enough to supply enough nutrients for the system. So I'm going to let you slide on that one. But if you keep doing that, you're doing hydroponics with the fish cover-up. Now, iron, you're always going to have to supplement iron. So that's not the problem. But if you're adding like micronutrients in there, which can be found in the fish feed, if you're just feeding adequately, then okay, we got to say it. We got to call it like it is. It's hydroponics with the fish cover-up. It's not really aquaponics, how aquaponics is designed. So I'm glad you noticed that, though.
But yeah, I'm just cycling the system, and you know, I want good results right out the bat. I can't wait for anything to happen here. I want it to happen immediately. So, you know, with the spirit of things, tried that out. Let me know what you think of that. If it's a really bad idea, I can definitely stop. But yeah, this is basically just a proof of concept. We're gonna do this on a bigger scale. Hopefully, do about 12 plants in a basement. From watching your videos, it looks like the deep water culture would be better on the bigger scale. You know, hopefully keep the water temperature in check. I know we'll have to probably spend a little bit more money on that. But one of my questions there, I guess, to start is with the deep water culture. You mentioned you have to do external filtration. We have a couple already aquarium filters. They're actually aquariums we're going to be using. Could I use an aquarium filter as the external filtration and then just do a pump up to the deep water culture tank and then just have it drip back down? Or do I actually have to put a filter in line? You know, watch a couple of your split flow videos, and you know, I noticed that with those, some of the water is already going back to the fish tank. So I didn't know if it mattered if you know, if I put a fish filter on the aquarium and use that.
Now, the thing with the fish filters, the aquarium filters, a lot of those are not designed to take up or to support the fish feces and the stocking densities that are recommended in aquaponics. So when you start heavily stocking, then you're going to have a problem with those fish filters, and oftentimes they're not going to be big enough for the systems that you're going to be using, especially when you start to expand. If it's something this small, you can get away with it. But when you start expanding, like you're trying to go into your basement and make a bigger system, more than likely you're going to have to upgrade the filter for an aquaculture filter, some type of aquaculture filter that can support the amount of fish and the fish waste that's going to be produced in the system. So I would recommend definitely when you move your system and you scale it up, to go ahead and invest in a different type of filter. Filtration is one of the most important things. So we don't want to overlook filtration. Improper filtration will cause an ineffective system. It will have ineffective growth, and you'll have a lot of problems, fish deaths, and it's going to be a headache. So I would not skimp on the filter.
And then what could I use as media? Could I use carbon? Can I use some of the other stuff they sell at the fish store? I don't know if some of that stuff takes nitrates out of the water. You know, maybe gases off the nitrogen or something. I don't want that because, you know, we want it for the plants. So definitely want your take on that.
So let's go ahead and stick to either the gravel or the hydrogen clay pebbles. Those are already proven. No need to reinvent the wheel. I know there's plenty of that's available. I would just stick to that. So those are, find a gravel that's neutral pH. It doesn't affect the pH. And the hydrogen clay pebbles, those don't affect pH. So we're going to stick to that. And, you know, that's all you really need if you're going to use a media bed. But you're not going to use a media bed. You're not using a media bed for when you move to your other, your basement area. You're doing a deep water culture setup. So media, you know, that's going to be irrelevant. That's not going to matter for you. So let's go ahead and stick with the deep water culture setup. That's going to be more beneficial and better for your system and for when you grow on a larger scale.
I guess for my system, another question just thought of right now, I have this foam filter right here. You know, I was trying to hope to clear out the solids from going to the tank so that I don't have a messy grow bed at the bottom. Don't know if that's bad. Haven't really seen many other people do that setup. You mentioned the external filtration, but this being a smaller system, didn't know if that was okay. So I want to get your take on that.
So you have the extra filter there. Now, this is what I recommend for a media bed system. What you really want is you want the solids to kind of accumulate in the media bed. This is the purpose of the media bed. It is its own filter. So you don't really want to remove too much of the solids out of the system, or else it's defeating the purpose. You want those solids to settle in the media bed, mineralize and break down and release those nutrients into the system so the plants can take them up. So if we're removing all the nutrients out, then, you know, like I said, it's defeating the purpose. So you can, I don't know if this is a good idea for this one. I don't know how much solids this is going to be removing out, this foam thing, but I'm pretty sure it's going to remove out probably a good portion of it. So you probably would want to take this off and just let the solids just go ahead and make their way in there and settle in there. You're going to have to clean. Okay, let's keep going.
Let me see what are the questions we have here. Let's see. Grow light. So got a T5 here. Put up my my Mylar to be able to reflect it around, but T5 light, is that a good distance to keep from the plants? I know more of a general question, not really aquaponics, but a lot of different things out there people say, and just want your take on that.
Oh, that appears to be a good distance for me right now. Looking at it, the plants don't seem to be stretching, and they seem to be they don't seem to be wilting either. If you put them too low, that's when using the T5 lights, you could have the plants overheating. You have them too high, they'll begin to stretch. Not enough, they're not getting enough lumens. So this seems to be a good height right now from looking at the plants. But over time, you're gonna have some of these plants that grow higher. Some of the plants, like this lettuce, is gonna stay kind of low. So that's when you're probably gonna have a problem if you keep it in the system. So just keep that in mind.
Also, something I really wasn't able to find, I kind of wanted to upgrade the bulbs. You know, once I buy something, I immediately have to spend more money on it. But didn't know if, you know, getting maybe the 2700K and maybe a more, you know, more blue or more red, I don't know the exact Kelvin ratings on them, but you know, getting lights that aren't just 6500K white lights, if that would be better. It's a 4 bulb T5, so didn't know if that would help me out at all.
You have 6500 Kelvin lights right now. Those bulbs are really, really good for vegetative growth, which is what the state that your plants are in right now. They're in vegetative growth. If you're doing flowering, then it's a chance that you might have to use a different spectrum of light in conjunction with the 6500 Kelvin. So you mentioned the 2700 Kelvin. You may need to add that in there. Now, I'm not an expert at indoor growing, and particularly growing flowering plants, which you have here. The cannabis is a flowering plant. So that would be, I would suggest you do a little bit more research separately from what I'm telling you, but I just know that there needs to be a separate spectrum for when plants flower. I'm just not sure. I just don't have the experience behind me to tell you which one to use for growing flowering plants indoors. But for vegetative growth, just if you were just using the lettuce, that plant, the 6500 Kelvin would work just fine. But you know, with the since you have flowering plants in there, your beans, your peppers, and your cannabis plant, that's going to need a different spectrum of light when they begin to flower in order to you know, to produce fruits and to produce the buds. So you're gonna have to just, you know, do a little bit more research. So I want to let you know that right now. I'm not the indoor cannabis growing guide. I'm the aquaponics guide.
Let's see. Oh, and just a last question for you. Hopefully here, stop talking your ear off. But removing the plants. So media bed, probably not the easiest to be transplanting. That's why I thought with the deep water culture for the bigger setup, plus it's going to be strictly cannabis plants. Those have to move from an 18/6 light schedule to a 12/12. You know, media bed wouldn't be good for transplanting. Figured the NFT or DWC would be better. And kind of just like the DWC overall better for, you know, we have the space and everything for it in the basement. But anyway, so for me though, removing my plants, I guess am I overstocked with plants? The dude at the hydroponics store that only knows how to grow marijuana, he said I could grow 8 plants in here, 8 marijuana plants. But because I'm growing, we can see spinach over here. I have those under the shade because they were getting a little bit of white on them. I thought they were getting a little burned. But anyway, so I have a couple of those plants planted in one lettuce plant there, pepper up front. I have a couple of scallions here. That's going to be a basil plant in the back, a bean plant over there. He's a small guy. He's a bush bean, I guess, supposed to be only 2 feet. Probably way overstocked. Let me know if I should take out some of these plants.
Heck yes, Danny, you're way overstocked. Man, you are way overstocked in that little system there. The problem is once those these flowering plants that you have, once they start growing and the fruiting crops you have in here, they're gonna just overshadow and block out all the sun for this lettuce. The poor lettuce is not gonna have any sun. The spinach, look like you have spinach over there. That thing's not gonna have any sun. The basil, when that grows up, yeah, all those are gonna overshadow these other vegetative plants that you have growing. So yes, you're absolutely way overstocked. You would have to use some other type of method. I don't know how they do it when they're growing cannabis. I think they use some other type of method to spread out the leaves, which is probably why he told you that you can fit 8 plants in here. But traditional vegetables, that's not going to work. Yeah, it's not going to work. So definitely overstock, my man.
And then if I'm going to have root problems too, is the roots of, possibly this guy going to run into one of these guys? And if I pull him out, am I going to pull the whole thing up? So
you definitely can expect in this small space that you have here, you can expect the roots to kind of grow and start growing amongst each other, especially with these large crops. You have a small space to be growing fruiting crops and these flowering plants. To be growing them together. So you definitely can expect that the root mass to kind of just all connect together. So when you pull one out, you might expect to be pulling out, the other plants as well. So, that is definitely something that you can expect.
I guess that's my first question about that. Second question, when I'm pulling up, this is aquarium gravel for the top because from about here down is clay hydroton. And originally I had this full of clay hydroton, but I think it was the cheap Chinese crap, and that was making it float. And the media guard was floating, clay was getting under. I was not a happy camper there. So bought some aquarium gravel, figure pH neutral stuff, not going to bother anything. Put that on top to weigh it down a bit. My question is, all right, so I pull up a plant. This aquarium gravel might drop down to the bottom, mixing with the clay. Is that going to create some anaerobic zones because I have smaller rocks mixing with bigger rocks?
So the truth is, you're using a media bed, so anaerobic zones are going to occur no matter what. The difference is when you have these smaller pebbles, it will create anaerobic zones faster than the typical hydrogen clay pebbles that you have underneath because they're smaller. It doesn't have enough. The pores aren't large enough for the solids to kind of pass through and spread themselves out. So with the smaller pores, they're going to clog up faster. Anaerobic zones are going to occur. No oxygen is getting through, so that's going to happen. But regardless, you're still going to have anaerobic zones that build up, and periodically you will have to go in and clean out the media bed, regardless. So I don't know how much time you're going to save or how much faster it's going to be with the pebbles, because they're probably not that much smaller than the pebbles, the hydrogen clay pebbles that you have underneath, but they are smaller. So it's not going to be like if you have all hydrogen clay pebbles, it's not like you're going to skip cleaning. You're still going to have to clean this thing out to prevent anaerobic areas.
Should I take out some of the gravel first to get down to the clay and then pull up the plants so that there's not much mixing? I guess what is your way of taking plants out of here? I'm really worried about ripping out roots. I guess if I do transplant, this guy's going to have to go to a different light schedule at some point, so he's probably going to get moved. Really just in here to get the thing kicked off, because I heard you're supposed to have plants and fish together to start out.
So yes, you're transplanting, which is a bad idea. You don't want to be using media beds to grow any type of seedlings. Media beds are meant for permanent growth. That's it. You shouldn't be using that to grow on anything. When the roots begin to grow, they start entangling themselves on the media, and then when you start trying to pull them up, it starts damaging the roots. You will rip roots out. You have to be very careful. Start digging your hands in there. What you would have to do if you want to get these out, I can probably tell you right now, if you wanted that cannabis plant and that bean plant that you have in the back, they have probably already entangled themselves on the media. So you're probably going to have to scoop your hand, remove the media from around it, and then scoop your hand underneath, all the way underneath, and grab the whole thing out. And you're going to have a nice ball. You're going to have a nice ball depending on how much root mass has already grown. But yeah, this is not a good idea. That you don't want to use this at all for any type of seedling growth. Just go ahead. This is just for permanent growth. Yeah. Don't even bother it. But when you want to harvest these things, you probably have never harvested using a media bed, but you usually have to pull the whole thing up, and it's just a big ball of media just all tangled together, and it's just a nightmare, which is one reason why these things aren't used really for a commercial setting, because it's just a big mess. And it just takes too much time to harvest one plant. You really got to get in there sometimes and start yanking plants out. So no for everyone else too, for using media beds for doing any transplanting.
I don't know. I'm just rambling at this point. So let me know what you think. I hope you enjoyed the video. The biggest thing I want to achieve today is if I can get a woo out of you, I'll feel good.
Woo!
Anyway, thanks Aquaponics God, and take care.
All right, Danny, my man, I want to appreciate you for sending your video in. Great insight on what you're doing. I'm glad you shared that with us. Hopefully you're able to put something together and support the aquaponic community, provide a service for the aquaponic community, further the practice of aquaponics, get food growing out there to all type of communities, provide technology. You know, aquaponics is moving. This is, it's a baby right now as far as a farming practice, but you know, it has the potential to take over a lot, especially in urban farming. So, you know, when we got great minds that are coming together, putting things together, using technology, that's one of the things with aquaponics. It can be used in conjunction with technology, which makes it easy. Everyone wants to be lazy nowadays. So, you know, the more technology we can add onto it, the lazier we can be, and the better it can be to, you know, get some of these youth in here interested in farming. They don't want to be out there digging in the soil. They want technology. This is what the youth want. So I like that. I'm glad you're coming up with something. We need great minds that are coming together, thinking of stuff, and pushing aquaponics forward. So I want to thank you again for submitting your video. Anyone else? Brooklyn at the School of Aquaponics.com video submission, and go ahead and send me what you got. I'm be more than happy to help you out. Send your video. Explain whatever you need to be explained, and then we can go from there, and we share it with everyone else. I want everyone else to, you know, to be able to feed off of everything, that ideas that other people have, and be able to prevent everyone from becoming biscuit-headed growers and making mistakes. That's the whole point. It's the whole point of it. That is the whole point of it. And share your comments, you know, share your provide your feedback. You know, everyone can pitch in. And then that is what helps people, you know, not have to go through all the trials and tribulations of, you know, the stuff that the headaches that can be presented with aquaponics. If you don't do it right, if you don't respect the game of aquaponics, your pockets will respect the game of aquaponics. Something's going to respect it. Nature must be respected. So let's go ahead and keep doing this. Keep submitting your videos. Keep helping the community out. Again, Danny, I want to thank you. Once again, everyone, go to his website. Go check out his software that he's developing. Leave a comment. Leave the man some feedback. Let him know what you would look for in a software so he can go ahead and start developing and have a better idea on what exactly he needs. So with that being said, this is Brooklyn St. Michael with the School of Aquaponics. Woo!